Let's go. We are back. Welcome to another edition of the NXTPRO show. The crew is back together. We got Shanku on the left, Corban right here. Wonderful Tuesday evening as always. Happy to break down the weekend that was in NXTPRO basketball. But first, Shanku, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Corban. How are you, man? It's good to be back.
It's great, man. It's great. I definitely missed the pairing. You know, shout out to Matt as always for coming in for both of us at different points.
Right.
But now we got the dream team back and we good to go. But yeah, it's been good, man. It's been good. Another fun, eventful weekend. A lot of action, a lot of hoops, and now we get to kind of look back on that. But first, I gotta ask you, good weekend. Everything worked out okay on your end? Just hanging out.
Yeah.
There we go.
Awesome. Got to see some hoops in Phoenix and Cincinnati, so got the best of both worlds.
You got the best of both. I love that. I definitely was happy to go back home. Huh?
You were in Phoenix, right?
I was happy to go back home, kind of get the heat, feel, get some good teams in there. It was nice. I'm not gonna lie. I hadn't been to that part in a minute. There was, for example, like on the actual scoreboard, like against the wall, there was a sign that said like warning, like rattlesnakes or rattlesnake sound. I was like, I forgot about that. Like, and there, growing up, like there was like I moved out from New York to Arizona, and I remember like running into a rattlesnake like maybe 3 months in. It was crazy. But yeah, man, it was wild. But it was a lot of fun. Like I said, a lot of great basketball, great venue, good teams, and without further ado, I think we should get into it. We got a pretty fire top 10 here.
I think so. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
At number 10, we've got BYC. Ooh, with a nasty chase block. Number 5. If you know who that is, please drop it in the comments.
Yeah, let us know, please. Number 9, we got world-class elite Martin Kapanger with the hammer and the point. Make sure the camera got
a few of those.
He did.
Number 8, Clayton Robbins puts him on a poster. Oh,
don't fly with me. I keep saying that. I respect
no fly
it.
Zone? I respect it.
I like that. No fly zone. All right, number 6, we got what was that? Clayton Robbins? No, that's Corban Gunn.
Corban Gunn, yeah.
Corban Gunn. Winner. Hey, wow.
Here he is, number 6, Mason Abaddon with the double and out. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Same hand the entire way.
Nasty.
It is. Number 5, we got Kansas Magic. Jeez, Ty Romero putting it down. Not on one, but on two. So nice to do it on 2.
Team Arsenal. Shout out to Courage again, making his second appearance. Throwing down the oop.
Let's go. Number 3, RJ Whitehead. Step back. I'm sorry. That's tragic. I love the defender playing defense, but that's not the view you want of the shot going in.
Oh, no.
No.
Caleb Goodwin here.
Ooh.
Oh, between the legs.
Ooh.
Here on Francis. Looks like LaMelo Ball there. Oh, that's pretty.
That was well choreographed. Shout out to them. And number 1, got another forward. First name Javante. Throwing in the dunk at the buzzer. Wasn't the game winner, but it might as well have been. And of course, they got to remind him that it was on his head. But look at that. The elevation, yes, literally down with the throw.
Yeah.
That was nice. That was a good top 10. And that was a good one. Shout out to everyone making the top 10 here. That was fire for sure. I got to ask you, Shanku, having seen that, what was your favorite play of that top 10? Putting you on the spot a little bit, but I am.
I will go. It wasn't even in the top 10, but Martin Kapanger, he had a nasty dunk off an inbounds pass this past weekend in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
On my computer, unfortunately, but man, that's just an honorable mention to him.
Oh, for real. Yeah, shout out to him. It was the best dunk that we didn't see because I don't know, we were there and we saw it and it was so quick. I was watching another game, like looked and saw the dunk and didn't even see it was the lob. I went back when you tweeted out the stream. I was like, whoa. So check that out. At Pro 16. I know at Shanku_Nair, right?
Yeah, I think I'll be breaking down that game from him. So you'll see that later.
There you go. There's your teaser. That's awesome though. But no, he played really well. Had a couple of dunks. I was not aware of the bunnies that he had. That probably was my favorite one. Although I gotta say, the RJ Whitehead, that step back, that's nasty.
Oh, that was nasty.
Like it was clean. I think some step backs you gotta have a little push with your hand or some help. And for him to just like fall, I'm sorry for the defender, way to try to play defense, but that was probably my number 1.
That's fair. I like it.
Nasty. It was good. But speaking of good, let's start with Phoenix. Phoenix got a few teams, kind of a few sessions to go over. But let's start with Phoenix. Kind of run through some of the 4-0 teams.
Yep.
Let's start with 17U. We had 2 teams from Utah that really came and took care of business.
For sure. Talk about Utah next level basketball. They had a few high quality wins this past weekend.
They did. I mean, I love the way their size, their shooting was solid, but their wins were against some really good Arizona teams. Factory, obviously, they're no slouch, right? And then AZ Venom, like I think we kind of know what they're about too. And so they got those. They had a few solid victories throughout, but those two, especially against the way they played, it felt like a mini bloodbath out there in Phoenix, and that's because there was so few. I don't even want to say few 4-0 teams because we have a decent amount. But I felt there was a lot of 3-1s, a lot of 3-1s, a lot of 2-2s. I think it speaks to the quality of the opponent that they were playing. You'd have some teams that were 2-0 and then lose one right there. I think there was a few I watched that were 3-0 that I was looking at, and then they lost one. It really depended. But the competition level is really good out there. But Utah next level, they took it to another level against two really good Arizona teams. And in fact, shout out to that game. Both Factory and AZ Venom, obviously they weren't undefeated, but they were really solid. They had one game against each other. I think it was kickoff on Friday. Their games, and that was a fun one. I watched a few of both their action, really, really good. But yeah, Utah next level. Love the way that they played.
Yeah, another Utah team. Shout out to Utah. I know their black team had a good weekend going 3-1, but their red team also had a big weekend, and they had a close game to end it off.
Yeah, they ran the table. They had a closer one. Sound Roots Academy. Roots Academy, they played pretty good this weekend as well. And they had it was a good game, good back and forth. But I think other than that, yeah, it was another one where they took care of business. They came, they saw, maybe it was a little fun in the first half of the first half. By the end of the first half, you kind of knew it was coming. By the second half, it was a wrap. Again, way to kind of buckle down. And I like the way they were able to kind of turn it up defensively. I think that was really, really cool for them.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that kind of played really well in Wichita during the live period. Rose City Ballers. They've got a nice pair of guards, but you talked about one in particular. Talk about Chase Rollins.
Yeah. The dude, combo guard in my mind, 6'6". I say combo because the dude could score. Like his jump shot, picture perfect. That's how I love a good jump shot. We talk about the Shanku, right? Really good jump shot. But I think for me, like my type of player is that guard who could equally balance between scoring and being more of a scorer, but can also facilitate, can also handle the rock, rebounds, defends pretty well. And Rollins does all of that. Like he's able to kind of impact the game in a number of ways. I think it starts with the jump shot, but you have some guys who have a jump shot that can't get to the rim. And then, hard closeout, and then, run them off the line, and they're passing the ball, and they're not as dangerous once they do that. And I think with him, it really didn't matter. He has a dribble game to get to the rim. He has a shot that has some range. He is able to kind of facilitate and pass and handle the ball as well. And so I like that. And I think Rose City Balls, as a unit, were a really versatile squad. From their lineups to the way they got their wins this weekend, like it was a different mix of things. And I thought that they really did a good job of executing down the stretch. And like I said, between some dominant victories, some, as I like to, shout out to, can't remember the name now, Mortal Kombat, some flawless victories and some close games as well.
Okay, for sure. Shout out to Chase Rollins. He's a really special guard, and he's a kid that I think will really see a big bump in his recruitment as the live periods in July roll around.
For sure. And I do want to say we're kind of running through. I know, Shanku, we're going to the next team. We're doing more general teams. We have some standouts coming up with some players that we definitely want to kind of put an eye to. But on this one is really just kind of the teams and how they play team game. And I think there was a lot of good team basketball. Just that's what it was this weekend out in Phoenix.
The last 4-0 team in 17U was Perseverance Next, and they kind of took care of business. What'd you like from them, Corban?
Yeah, they didn't. We say it all the time, Shanku. They did not play with their food. Yeah. Like that's just what it was. They did what they had to do. And they beat a solid world class Renegades team. We know how they are by 15. And I thought, wow, again, it wasn't particularly close. And just the way that they play. Again, you have defensive intensity. They're great shot making. I love the way they work the ball to make open shots. And I think ball movement is a big thing we see in a bunch of teams in the circuit. That's kind of good. I think that kind of separates the good teams from the great ones. Or not the good teams from the great ones. The good teams from the okay teams. The great ones have that shot level creation as well. That kind of sets them apart. So, okay, when the ball is being swung around and now the defense is also swinging around, what do we do? And Perseverance, they had it. They had it all. And they were on fire from three. I thought that they reined in a few. There was a few teams this weekend that really shot I'm trying to think of what. The leather out of the ball. Back in New York, you said a different thing off the ball, but the leather off the ball. There we go.
For sure. Moving on to 16U, Team B Will Gold. They went 4-0. What'd you like from them?
Yeah, I gotta say, I like B Will in general. Like their organization, the way they play, you definitely the offense that they have. You get some principles of motion offense, like the way they kind of go in and, you know, go through the high post and kind of flow through that. And it's a really, I don't want to say methodical, it's a very organized method of play. You rarely see them rushed from their point guard down. Like, it's a really solid level of basketball. But they had a really nice win over Jump Athletic. And Jump this weekend, at all levels. Watch 17U, watch 16U. They were really, really solid this week. Obviously, this weekend didn't you undefeated, but they were like good competition regardless. And I just love the ball movement. Again, I'm a sucker for it, especially when you get that, again, beautiful swing action, get a shot in the corner, get a shot in three, relocation, move it around, like that stuff. I'm like, my head just, you know, moving around on that. And I thought that Team B Will did a really good job of executing at the high level there. And again, that speaks for most of their, you know, 17 and 16, even some 15 as well. But 16 did it at a high level to actually run the table. And that's why I'm speaking about them right now.
For sure, yeah. I'm a big fan of quality offense too. There's pretty rare to see in AAU these days. A lot of ISO ball, so seeing some of these structured offenses is definitely fun to watch.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Team Utah Black. This is a team I got to saw a little bit online. Talk about them. What did you see from them in person?
I thought that they were another solid squad in terms of, and I forgive me for not getting the name down, but good big man play. You know, like I think inside out, I thought they had good guards. Like I thought that they just played size-wise in terms of rebounding, kind of getting in there. And again, it was for me watching them. Like I literally took some notes, looked back, and I was like, oh, they went undefeated too. Like I feel like Utah in general. I mean, Team Utah, both 17U and 16U, did what they had to do and played some high quality basketball. And it wasn't always like, I don't want to say it was ugly. It just wasn't always pretty, but it was really effective games. And I think, again, another thing we just talked about ball movement and the importance there and how that's not something we see, but also winning in a variety of fashions. You know, if you're a team that either gets blows out teams or gets blown out, you know, high level of variance there, right? But if you're able to kind of stay with it, you know, and stick to your team tenets and your main principles and just put out, you know, whatever you can do out there and let the ball go where it may on that end. I think that really speaks to that. And I thought that Team Utah, they did a really good job. Both 17, as we're talking about, they're 16U Black, really solid.
Yeah, they're 16U Black. Just want to give a quick shout out to Jordan Oberholzer. He's a 5'10", 5'11" guard probably, but he's super shifty. He's not the most athletic, but he gets to his spots. He gets downhill. He's tough to contain in isolation.
Crafty.
And then he's super crafty at the rim, especially when he leaves his feet. I mean, he's got amazing body and ball control to finish through traffic.
Yeah. Nah, I think that's, and again, that's a skill, like being able to make your own space. I know we talked a couple weeks back, and we're not comparing him to this player, but remember Andre Miller? We talked about him, right? Like a guy who he just played his own pace and was able to get the kind of shot he wanted whenever it felt like.
Not being the most athletic guy.
No, he was not the quickest. He wasn't the most physical dominant, but he was able to kind of make his space, right? Play at his own pace. And I know that when we do reports and we're writing, we would write, play at our own pace all the time, but everyone's pace can be different. Yeah, I think that's an important thing too. For anybody who just wants to push the ball all the time, shout out to that. You know, I love fast break basketball, but if you're another player who wants a methodical pick and roll action or, you know, kind of dictating post up play, whatever the case may be, yeah, really solid. And so shout out to him as well, for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Team Utah as a program. I was watching their 15U as well, and they were running some actions I saw the Timberwolves running a few nights ago.
Wow. You put some plays out. I saw that. So
shout out to them as a program. They're really well coached, and they run some really good stuff.
Yeah, we definitely love good. I mean, especially Shanku here. The coaching eye picks up on all that with him. So that is for sure.
Yes, sir. Moving forward, UPrep Canada, talking about high-level basketball. They also play some really high-quality basketball.
They do. I have been impressed with them for a bit now. I think this is the first time, like, again, running the table that we kind of shout them out in this segment. But they look solid all weekend. I think they have a really cool, like, pace and space style. And from what I saw, I'm gonna watch more moving forward for sure. But they must have an array of shooters because I want to say, I don't know how many minutes the game is, 12, whatever minutes of a half, whatever. I kind of bounce around like every time. Different players shooting the ball really, really well. And the style of play they did to, again, manufacture those shots. And they weren't just living by the three, dying by the three. But when you're making that many, you might as well keep going with it, right? Well. And so I really like the way that they were able to kind of work into their offense. And I think another thing, just a random shout out, is the culture that you kind of see. We don't see a lot of that because we're really just watching the game. We're not in the locker rooms for what they are in these tournaments, right? We're not kind of in the huddles. We're not in that scenario. But from what we see, I got to say, like, the entire time that I watch them, you definitely have like a positive energy, a positive vibe, a high like intense, everyone's off the bench off of big plays. Like for any play, first 3 of the game, yeah, like in that way. And I'm like, at first I laughed. I was like, that was the first time out of the game, rather. So let's say it's like 7-6. And they did that. I'm like, okay, game's still early. But they do that all the time. Like that's just what they do. That's their ethos. Yeah. They all get up for each other. They all support each other. And that's from the first coach all the way down to whatever players they have there. And I really thought that that's been a consistent thing I've seen. And you don't see it a lot. I mean, you have different teams with their routines, but I think consistently, at the end of the day, you play to win. The positive vibes are great, and I love that. But we don't have positive vibe shout outs here. It's 4-0 shout outs. But when you can do both of them, I'm with it. And so I wanted to say between that pace and space style of play, the way they were able to execute in a really good rhythm all weekend, and then again, like I said, the way that after, throughout the game, they're keeping everyone up, big play, bad play, whatever the case may be. And, players, they feel that at the end of the day. Like you look and your coach like, oh, all the time. It's not always great,
For sure. 100%. And the last 16U team that went 4-0 was, again, Utah Next Level. So that's 8-0 between 16 and 17U. Anything stand out with them?
Honestly, I wish I saw more of them. I saw bits and pieces. I didn't have enough to get names on, and so shout out to that team. I would do a better job next time of like writing them down. I think one time I went to look and I was looking at names and couldn't quite see it. But what I did know that I liked about them, again, execution defensively. I think that was one that kind of stood out for me. And I think there's one thing to play positionally sound defense. I think it's another thing to generate turnovers. I think it's a third thing to generate turnovers without fouling. A third thing. I said 13. Yeah. Shout out to my mom. Third thing to generate turnovers without fouling, right? And I thought they did a good job of getting after defensively and, of course, executing at a pretty good level offensively as well.
That's awesome. Shout out to them. Moving on to 15U, there was a few teams that went undefeated: Exposure Sports, Oregon Prospects, and D1 New Mexico. Anything stand out with those 3 teams?
Oregon Prospects, again, I think that's kind of just their program, but their offense. Yeah. Again, and I'm not quite the coaching eye that you are, Shanku, but when you can kind of see trends of like how to generate, good off-ball cutting action or good shooting, isolations for a player who has an advantage in the post and isolating that and making that part of your offense, I think that's really big. And so I did like the way that Oregon played that way. I'm not saying that they had like a dominant post player, but I do think that they played advantage creation basketball. And I think that's something that, it's not always just going through one player all of the time. It is, putting players in a position, whether it's the same player on the block, or making constant off-ball action for a guy from the wing to the corner, whatever the case may be. I think that's solid. And so I did see a high level of execution on that end that I was really impressed with.
That's awesome. Yeah. Talk about like optimizing personnel. I think that's really, really key in high school basketball. Yeah.
Yes,
yep. Also, just a shout out to the 14 and 13U teams, GSA All-Stars and Minnesota Magic 14U, as well as basketball Warnecki for 13U going undefeated.
Around the table. In a tough, it was hard. There was not a lot of 4-0 teams here. And I think that's because you had a lot of good teams playing each other. Also, I don't want to say the heat was a factor because it was well conditioned outside or well air conditioned inside. But I think the heat of the competition, again, I was surprised that looking back, when you're watching the games, you keep an eye as Shanku and I am saying, when we're watching the games, we're not really looking, oh, wow, they're undefeated. Just watching games, looking at prospects, looking at teams. And then I know I can only speak for myself. Toward the end of the weekend, I start looking at, okay, like I need to double back on this team. And I was surprised by how few there were. And I think that's a testament to the competition at an overall level in Arizona this weekend. So shout out to both the boys and the girls, because there was a lot of fast and furious basketball on both ends. And shout out to our scout, Derek Beecham, who follow him on Twitter. Good coverage of the girls all weekend as well, in real time. So it was just an amazing environment. Really enjoyed it. The heat was only a slight factor, but everything else was a lot of fun out there, Shanku, for real.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish we could have Derek on tonight, but yeah, definitely check out his Twitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome coverage for the girls scene in Phoenix this past weekend.
We'll retweet some of that for sure. Absolutely.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, should we jump into OKC?
Yeah, we're gonna jump right in and jump. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So let me ask you, Shanku. We got to start with Team Stark 17U taking care of business.
Yeah, I mean their closest game was 12 points. They had a really quality win over a really solid Team Oklahoma team. Okay. They beat them by 16 points, and like we said, they didn't play with their food. So
I love it.
Can't really ask for much more.
Nah. Exactly. And if you can get a big win against a good team by a good margin, like showing that you're on the up and up as far as gelling together as a unit. And I think there's something to be said for that for sure.
Right. 100% agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about Team HQ?
Yeah, Team HQ, they went 4-0. They have a kid named Xavier Garcia. And just a little bit about him. He actually barely played varsity this past season in high school for a really good team in Oklahoma, but he's been really impressive this spring. Kind of as an advantage creating guard, gets downhill, uses his strength to win at the rim. Really crafty finisher, great vision, good processing speed, and he did what he did this past weekend in his hometown and pulled out four wins.
Showdown in front of the home folks. You gotta love that. They can do what they do. That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, shout out to him. Shout out to Team HQ. Let's talk about Kansas Select Red. Solid weekend again. Every time we go 4-0, solid weekend, good weekend, great weekend. They played well. What did you enjoy about them? What did you pick up on them?
Yeah, Kansas Select Red. They went 4-0. They were in one of the lower pools. They were ranked 129 coming in. So it will be interesting to see how they finish up. But Kansas Select Red is a team to watch going forward for sure.
Absolutely. And then we got to talk about EAD Dallas Black.
Yeah, EAD Dallas Black. I mean, talk about clutch. They had 3 games within 10 points. They were 128 coming in, but these close margin of victories, I mean, that's just clutch, crunch time. They did what they had to do. They played the margins well, and they pulled out 4 gritty wins.
Yeah. And again, I think those are the more impressive wins to me. Like, obviously, if you can throw a team down and not play with your food and do all of that, and when we say not play with your food, like you are a team that you play at a certain level, you have a team here, and you're like, all right, let's just end it. Let's move on, right? Not every game's going to be like this, fine. But in my mind, like if you can have a close game and you were able to find, again, we said this earlier, different ways to win the game and pull it out, that's great. That's great. And so for a team to come in where they were and to come and do just that, solid.
For sure.
Now we got to move on, take that same energy here with 17U and go on to the 16U rather. Like I don't know where I was going. But let's talk about Hard Work Elite, Shanku. What did you see from them?
Yeah, Hard Work Elite was number 8 coming in. They had 2 quality wins. Unfortunately, there was some inclement weather down in Oklahoma, so a lot of games were cut short. They only played 2 games. They were 2-0, but their 2 wins were extremely high quality against number 5 team NTX Raptors Elite and Team Oklahoma, who was number 13 coming in. So they were on their way to a 4-0. In my opinion, they've got some dudes in Caleb Evans, Kevin White, and AJ Dixon who can all impact the game at a high level.
I like that for sure. Wow, definitely want to keep an eye on those guys moving forward. Definitely. What about Nebraska Hoops Elite?
Yeah, so they were one of 2 teams actually in 16U to go 4-0. A lot of teams just played 2 or 3 games, but Nebraska Hoops Elite, they went 4-0. They took care of business. They were in one of the lower pools, but they were ranked 104 coming in. So I'm excited to see them in July.
Yeah, well, for sure. Way to do what they do. Let's talk about, we have Louisiana Titans went 4-0, team different, and then BYC Elite. Was there any of those teams specifically that popped out to you? Anything that you took of note?
Yeah, Louisiana Titans, talk about clutch again. They had 2 wins within 3 points against two good teams in Team First Oklahoma and the NTX Raptors Black. Just another clutch performance by them, pulling out those gritty wins when it matters most.
Absolutely. Gotta love that. Let's take another punch here. We got Team Stark Edwards, University of Hoops, and then you had Kansas Team 2026. And again, all of those teams, good, differential or good diversity of wins, rather differential. I'm thinking something totally different. Good diversity of wins. But what popped out to you specifically from those teams?
Yeah, Team Stark Edwards is a team that's been on my radar for the past few weeks. They've got a kid in Voncarious Reed, 6'3" guard, super lengthy, plays both ends of the floor, aggressive slasher, plays through contact. They've got another big, number 21, I forget his name right now, but he's big body. He's a class of 27, playing up a year. And he dominates. He's really super skilled for his size, puts the ball on the floor, spaces the floor. And that's a team to watch because they've had a lot of success over the last few weeks.
I like it. Definitely one we'll be tuning into moving forward for sure. Going to the last kind of couple here. You have the KC Spurs. Know them. We've seen them. I like them. Got the Louisiana Cardinals, South U also, and then Louisiana Titans. So from those 4 teams, kind of, was there any specific one that caught your eye? Any numbers? Anything you were like, wow, interesting?
Yeah, KC Spurs. Got to give a shout out to Alex Casares. KC Spurs, they had a really quality win over Oklahoma Chaos Bruner, who was a really solid team, who was top 50, I believe, coming into this weekend. They beat him by 21. They beat him pretty handily. Alex Casares, though, he's a guard, 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Super smart and just understands space well, plays in passing lanes, gets to the rim, just does so much positive things on the floor to impact winning.
That's important. And again, the variety of ways in which you do that.
Right.
I think we'll talk about some players specifically later. But again, there's different ways to impact a basketball game. I think everyone here who's watching the show kind of knows that. Right. But to be able to know that and do that are two different things. And so really, really cool for sure. And then kind of moving down to 15U. Let's talk about Hard Work Elite and Oklahoma Wolfpack Mason.
Yeah, so Hard Work Elite and Oklahoma Wolfpack Mason were the two 4-0 teams. Hard Work Elite was 13 coming in. They had 2 top 50 wins, including Team First Oklahoma and Team HQ. And then we got to talk about Oklahoma Wolfpack Mason. Because they were one in our standings for a long time. They had a really tough schedule down in Wichita. They bounced back, though, this weekend going 4-0, and they smacked every team they played, 20+. That's a team that could contend for a championship in July in Phoenix.
Absolutely. A team that, again, eyes will be on. So we'll talk about that. We'll actually talk about the other stuff on that coming up here a little bit later. We'll let everyone know on that. So just stay tuned. But we have a few more teams here in 15U. First, shout out to them. But next place, Skills Academy, C4 Attack, and Oklahoma Movement. Of those teams, what did you like? Anything pop out to you, Shanku? Anything caught your attention?
Yeah, so a lot of those teams, I think they went 3-0, all 3 of those. But next place, Skills Academy, they were dominant. 20 points was their closest game. They were in one of the lower pools, but I'm excited to see what they do coming up in July.
For sure. And shout out to all of the OKC teams. Again, given the weather situation, everything there, doing the best of what you had. A bunch of teams are 2-0. Shout out to every team that was 2-0, right? Sure. And who knows? Maybe there were teams that weren't. Well, I guess you kind of had to be 2-0 to go on your way undefeated. So we'll leave it there. But who knows? But if you had 2-0, great start. And like I said, things a certain level of adversity, the team to kind of come together and play, and things happen, right? Yeah. But shout out to everyone in OKC. Moving on down to Cincinnati. Yeah. What do we like with 17U Shanku? We got to start with the Cap City Scrappers.
Cap City Scrappers, yeah. They had a great showing again in Cincinnati. Talk about Cooper Allen real quick. He picked up an offer from Kentucky Christian College over the weekend, after his weekend. Wow. Super well. He's a 6'3" guard. He really thrives off the ball, lethal off-ball shooter, and then he just plays the right way. He talks defensively. He's loud, good motor, functional motor, tangible motor, but that's a player that can really see a boost in his recruitment as the July live periods come around too.
I like that for sure. And again, I think a good motor is important. I think, games like this, obviously people getting tired, but the energy effort, like some, I see it more than you'd like. The energy is really there on offense, and then defense, a screen comes, I'm just going to die there. I'll swipe at the ball. I missed it. Darn. Exactly. And I think, like you said, a motor that you can clearly tell. Right. On both ends. There's a few great two-way players in the circuit, more than a few. But I think you can definitely tell the standouts between the way they play on both ends and those who are really just good on one side, and preferably the side that involves scoring, right?
100%, so, I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's something I definitely have seen a lot of for sure. Moving on down to Chapman basketball. You had a player you wanted to shout out, but they also went 4-0. What did you like from them?
Yeah, so Chapman basketball, they went 4-0, their gold team. Luka Mamasilovic, he's a 6 big, super skilled, great feel, especially out of the post. I mean, he sees double teams coming early, makes those reads early, on time and on target. He can put the ball on the floor. He can space the floor. He's got great touch around the rim. And then also in pick and roll, his versatility to roll and pop. Like I said, he can space the floor, pop, hit the threes at a solid clip. And then also as a roll man, he does a good job staying available, playing in the pocket, making those passing angles easier for his guards.
I like that. So basically a good high post kind of passing big man who can shoot a little bit. Does he have a low post game that you like?
Or he does. He's got good footwork. He's got great touch around the rim.
I love that. Okay.
That's a kid to monitor over the next few months because he's got the size at 6'8". And yeah, I think his recruitment, he'll definitely a D1 kid who's waiting to really blow up.
I like that. Most definitely. Let's talk between Castle Athletics and West Virginia Gold. Both teams, again, congrats to them kind of rounding out the 17U, running the table, 4 up, 4 down. But of those two squads, anything kind of catch your attention most, rather?
Yeah, I mean, Castle Athletics, I could be mistaken, but I believe this was their first weekend on our circuit, and
Wow, okay.
they went 4-0 in 17, 16, and 15U. So
Sheesh.
shout out to them. And
Yeah, way to go.
their debut
Okay.
weekend. But yeah, West Virginia Gold, their next team, Jaden Bryant, he had a big game, 28 points, 6 rebounds. I think he had 6 threes in that game. I mean, he really lit it up from beyond the arc, and he showed he can put the ball on the floor as well and attack the rim.
Wow. That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. I love that people can get those threes up in high volume. Not get them up, but make them in high volume.
Efficiently, too.
Exactly. Wow. You gotta love that for sure. Going to 16, you already brought up Castle Athletics, so shout out to them again. But you had Montreal Prospects and Run as One, as well as Team Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Of those 3 teams, what was the most interesting from that? Because again, you had some tight wins in there. You had some, good weekends all together. What did you like?
Yeah, Montreal Prospects really as a program, they're just super solid. But their 16U team, they've been really impressive since they first came to our event in Indy, I believe. Really good win against Rice Basketball Academy, who I saw in Wichita. They're a really solid team, and they beat them 61-58. So shout out to them.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. And again, like you said, playing good competition and rising above the level there.
Right.
Gotta love that for sure. Moving on down to our 15U, you gotta tell the people about Team Ish. Team Ish on the next for the 15U. What did you like? There's a few players that seem to have caught your eye.
Yeah, Team Ish might be the favorite. Ethan talked about them. I think after the first weekend, he said they've got a chance to win it all. And I mean, looking back at that take, I mean, shout out to Ethan for what it takes, because they're like one of the best 15U teams on the Pro 16. They've got a few guys that have D1 upside, truly. Travian Williams is the bulky 6'1" guard, super physical, crafty finishing around the rim. Parker Watkins is another 6'3" guard, plays both ends of the floor, super dynamic, scores from multiple levels, shoots it with the best of them, really. But then also Carlos Marshall, who's a 6'6" wing, great size on the wing, who's got great passing feel. I think that's the most underrated aspect of his game, the way he sees the floor at 6'6", and also the way he moves and scores the ball at multiple levels. He's a prospect to watch over the next few years for sure.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you say that. I'm like, years, and you're like, yeah, just 15U and all the potential they're already showing. That is really cool to kind of see, like you said, monitoring moving forward, and not just the next few months, literally the next few years, and seeing what they add to their bag and how they develop. I think that's very exciting.
100%, I agree.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Montreal Prospects again. They took care of business, but like another team brought up, I think it was in Phoenix. No, this was OKC. They had a few games that were not blowouts.
Yeah, I mean, they had to work for their wins. They got it done eventually, but they went 4-0, but 3 of their 4 wins came within 7 points. So just talk about that mental fortitude that these teams have to grit out these close games, especially towards the end of the weekend. I mean, their legs are tired, but minds are tired too, and they've got to stay strong mentally to really pull out these wins, and that's what they did. Exactly.
And then the fact that every team you play is different. I mean, you have certain standards, certain tenets that are the same, right? But like every team, the personnel is usually different, right? Yeah. So that is something to adjust to. So like you said, way to respond. Speaking of responding, I mean, Run as One, they had a game that was, reminiscent of a Montreal Prospects game. And then they were like, no, we're Run as One. And they did a little differently. What'd you like from them?
Yeah. So Run as One, they had a 4-point win versus Team Grizzlies. And apart from that, I mean, they were dominating. Every other win was 20-plus points. So shout out to the Grizzlies for giving them their only close game. But Run as One did manage to pull it out.
There you go. Pulling out, getting it done. Speaking of that, again, we brought them over 16U, brought them on 17U, but Castle Athletics, and they did not play with their food either.
Yeah, so I mean, this was their debut weekend, so they're kind of still figuring out where they belong, and they were in one of the bottom pools, but their closest game was 16 points. They did what they had to do, and they showed that they belong in a higher pool.
Yeah, way to get done. I think they figured it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then just want to, yeah, for sure. And just want to shout out the 14U teams that went undefeated. One family, the next 14U squad did, as well as Grand Park Premier. Way to get it done there. And then for 13U, you had the Cincinnati Dominators doing the job, dominating. And then HWPO Hoops. Is that not? That's just the HWPO, right?
I think so.
I was about to say, I'm like, it doesn't stand for anything I'm missing. Yeah. Every time I see like 4 letters, I'm thinking of Team Different. Shout out to Team Different. Just had to make sure they were just that. Oh, producer John in the back. Hard work pays off.
Okay.
There you go. See,
shout out to John.
Shout out to John in the back. It happened again. I have to be convinced. Shout out to these team names because every time I see them put together, I'm like, okay, there has to be a meaning here. Even though I didn't think there was just now. But yeah, for sure. That's a lot of fun. Speaking of, kind of covered all the 4-0. We had a few players here, a little power pack show, kind of getting here, but we had a few players specifically that we kind of want to talk about and shout out. So Shanku, let's kind of get into it. What was one of the players you had here that you kind of wanted to give a little love to, that you saw specifically that you took a takeaway from?
For sure. Kobe Freeman is a guy who I've known since last September when he played at our camp, actually, down in Oklahoma City. He plays for Oklahoma Wolfpack. He had a big weekend, dropping 36 points in one of his standout performances this past weekend. He's a 5'11 guard, but he's just so skilled, super quick in the open court, and gets to his spots, and especially his manipulation on a pick and roll. He does a great job reading his defender's body positioning and footwork to reject ball screens, get downhill, and then his patented floater game. That's just such a reliable source for him. Just instant points, and then he can also shoot it off the catch and off the dribble from 3 at a really high level.
Wow. So what do you think is the most impressive part of him? Is probably the shot-making versatility or the shooting? What do you kind of see from that really
overall, just his playmaking? I didn't even talk about his passing, but his feel. He gets others involved. He makes his teammates better, and he's more of a scoring guard, but he'll make the right play when he has to. He'll face a lot of double teams, and he'll make the right reads from there.
I like that for sure, most definitely. And then kind of moving on from him to another player, a team of players, rather, a tandem, if you will. Yep. Both Tate and Ethan. How you say the last name?
Yeah, Sage.
The
twins. Yeah,
they're both.
I
had a little behind the scenes here. I think I went and was when I was looking at the notes, a little behind the wall, and I might have got rid of the S, and I was like, "Where'd that go?"
Oh, okay.
I know these people, but please tell us about the Sage guys.
Yeah, so the Sage twins. I've talked about Ethan on the show a few times before. I think he's a surefire D1 guy, but his brother Tate, he's really put on a show in Wichita, scoring the ball at a really high clip. From all 3 levels. They both picked up an offer, their first offers from Pitt State after their live period showing in Wichita. And I think they're going to pick up some D1 offers come July. They've got all the size at 6'7". They've got guard skills. They shoot the ball at a super high clip. They can play inside and out. The versatility is endless with them. And I think they're a tandem to watch for sure, with a Team Rogue team who's arguably one of the favorites to win it all in Omaha in the NIT come late July.
Wow. And again, another group of players who, how do you like the way they play off of each other? Are they kind of independently operating really well within the team? Do you kind of see that twin action? What do you kind of like from the chemistry between them?
No, yeah. The chemistry is there. Obviously, they've played together their whole life, but just as a team, we brought Coach Ernie Barber on, and he's got their guys just playing really connected basketball. They've got a lot of chemistry. They've played together. A lot of these guys have played together a while with each other, but Ethan and Tate, they bring an element of size as well as that floor spacing that's rare in the next circuit, and that's what makes them so valuable to their team.
I like that for sure. For sure. I definitely want to see more of them moving forward out here. Let's talk about Mason Abaton.
Abaton, yeah.
Abaton.
Yeah. Mason Abaton, he already holds a few D1 offers prior to the season from Radford, among some others, but he just picked up Cal Baptist, I believe, today, as well as Indiana State during the live period. He's a 6'6" wing for Prominent Elite who lost their first game this past weekend in Phoenix. But, he's so skilled. He fits on any college team, even high major teams I think he can play for. Shoots the ball at a super high clip, and then he's got really functional athleticism. He's threw down a few posters. I believe he made the top 10 a few times. But Mason Abaton's another player who will only continue to see his recruitment rise.
I was about to say, once you said the name, I'm like, yeah, I feel like we've said this name before. So yeah. Definitely a player we'll be looking at moving forward. Another player we definitely going to keep our eyes on. JJ Apathan. Apathan. Yes.
Apathan, I believe. Yeah.
Say it one more time for me.
I believe it's JJ Apathan. I know there's a thing there, so
there you
could be silent, but
yeah. The dude is a bucket.
He is.
Talk more about. I will say one thing real quick before I kind of give the floor to you, Shanku. But the ease with which he was getting his shots was crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he has the deep ball. He has the shimmy in the mid-range. He's able to get to the rim, finish through contact. Like, he had a run of his own. I got to say, at least 7-8 points, like, on his own, like a stream. And I remember, like, I was watching the game, and I was not, excuse me, Mr. JJ, I was not familiar with their game. But, like, I'm, like, watching, like, whoa, like, okay, next play down. Okay, I was literally putting together runs of his own. What did you like from JJ that really popped out to you?
Yeah, Corban, I think you hit the spot just with his scoring. I think that's super valuable going forward to the next level, but I think his passing feel, like I think he projects as a 1 at the next level. He can really facilitate in the half court. He orchestrates his team well. He communicates on the offensive end. He sees the floor well at 6'3", 6'4", and then he's also super athletic. I mean, he's got some really crafty finishes around the rim. He can glide through the air, finish through contact, finish through traffic, like you said. But then he also can kick it out, make dump offs to cutters, and just sees the floor super well. He had a crazy hook pass, hitting a cutter through the lane. I don't even know how he saw him, but it's a ridiculous pass from him.
Just one of those like plays you're like, what?
Yeah, I was like, I tweeted about him, and I was like, I don't know if this pass was intentional or not, but I'm pretty sure it was.
I mean, if you ask him, he's probably gonna tell you yes, it was. So we'll go with that, right? Right. For sure. Let's talk about. We have a few players. Well, two. I know you have one. We both kind of have one. For the World Class Renegades. First, we got to talk about Martin Kalpanger. The dude, I knew he was a shooter. I've known that for a bit. You know, we've seen him in a few of our sessions here so far in the circuit. For the mid range, you know, he's able to get to his bag there. He's able to shoot the ball from deep with range. You know, he's somebody I thought like really profiled as a really good off ball shooter. Someone who can kind of do a little bit with the ball as well. What I was not familiar with, and maybe I've just missed it, but the bunnies are there. Like he has some, I hate to say it, some sneaky athleticism in him that I'm just like, whoa.
Yep. I'm gonna actually, I cut some film up for him against I forget who it was. I think it was Team Supreme Arizona, but this was one of the best individual performances I saw all season long. Martin Kalpanger here. He is number 21 with the short sleeve undershirt. Here he is coming up over.
Yep.
Oops. And then just the off-ball shooting, just so lethal. Gets to a spot. He can shoot off the dribble. That's really improved since last year. Here he is again in pick and roll. This time he pops. And just from NBA range, I mean, he's got the confidence, all the confidence in the world.
Got some ones actually.
Threes. He hit 4 or 5 threes in this game, shooting at a really high clip as well. And then also that range and his pre-shot preparation is great. He gets the ball out quick. He gets it out in tight spaces. Just a really high-level shooting prospect. But his defense is super underrated, and I want to touch on that a little bit. Here he is on the ball, on the perimeter against a 6'7" wing. A guy who's, I think Martin's maybe 6'5", 6'6", but got a few inches on him. He's got active hands, and he moves his feet really well. Here he is. He gets the steal, and then great finish through contact with his offhand. I mean, that's pretty for the and one.
Yeah, nice gather too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Here he is again. Putting the ball on the floor, I think that's a big part of his game that's really improved. His overall handle is tighter since last year. His core strength is better. His hip mobility is better. He's able to put the ball on the floor and really beat guys off the dribble, as he shows here. And then that's just a nasty lefty scoop. You gotta watch that again.
Do that one more time. Run that back. Ooh.
I mean, that's just crafty.
Yeah.
And then here's the play we were talking about, Corban. I know you saw. You turned your head, but watch him here off the inbounds play, off the lob, showing off that functional athleticism.
Just bow.
Oh man.
Bow.
Loves
run that back.
The crowd loves it. I mean, wow.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and then defense.
Yeah, we gotta run that
back. You gotta run that back, please.
We gotta run that back.
Yes. That had a few of us.
Dang.
Boom.
Man, talk about a highlight play. I was on
out of nowhere.
I know.
Yeah.
They actually ran that play for him earlier in the game. Inbounder threw a little off-target pass, but didn't that time. And
that was on the money. That was nasty. Hey, shout out to you in the film room, Shanku. Definitely kind of cutting it up. We love to see it. And I like that you point out the improvement. Again, this is something that you know, we talk about a little bit here with 15, 16. And obviously the show wasn't here, you know, in that kind of format last year, but seeing plays that we talk about week in and week out now, right? That are 15, 16, seeing what they may be next time. You know, we cover the show next circuit, right? And where they kind of grow and where they progress in the development, like you said, and the fact that you can see that in real time, you know, the fact that his handle, I had no frame of reference on the way that Martin played last year. So I'm like, oh, he can put the ball on the floor on the floor a little bit. But I know, hey, that really wasn't a strength last year, and now it's become something he's more, comfortable with this season. Not only that, but having craft finishes as well. Like there's a end-to-end development there that is really, really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I saw him last year. They won the next championships. But he really predicted as a 3-and-D guy last year, but his on-ball creations really improved, and as well as his team defense. I think he took 2 charges that game. He's willing to put the body on the line. He's got a great motor. I mean, he's rustling back in transition. He's saving easy buckets on the other end. But yeah, that's a high-level prospect, and I think his recruitment's only starting to rise. He's got an offer from Portland already, but I think that's it. And
I like that. Wow.
That's definitely going to increase. That list is going to increase as the summer goes on.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that'll change. Something to stay tuned on, but I feel like that'll change for sure. Another guy I wanted to shout out to, just from World Class Renegades, Noah Schlo.
Yeah, Noah Schlo. Right? Yeah,
Noah Schlo. I don't know why I keep trying to put an L in there. Anyway, the dude can shoot the rock. The dude can shoot the rock. It's a shot that, like you said, shot prep solid. The range ridiculous. I think he had a game this weekend where he had, I want to say 8 threes.
Oh.
Yeah, I think I was talking about.
He did again. I know he did. He had one game in Wichita. He went 8 for 9 from 3.
Yeah, yeah. The dude got a clip on him. Like it's something there. It's like whoa, So I definitely want. And I think again, when you look at the way that World Class Renegades play, and you have show shooting, you have Kalpanger shooting, you have Jeremiah Harshman able to get to the rim. You have Thank you. My words started slurring there. Nayali. There you go. I think I said it right. Anyway, you have a lot of shooters on the team, and they have it in different ways. Off the dribble, off of screens, a little bit of both. But I like Show's ability to really stretch it out. And I feel like I've seen him take some really deep ones, like in rhythm. I think you say the same that we saw for Martin as well. But that shot looks like he can go so much farther. And when he's on a heater, it is something to see, man. Yeah. It's like, whoa.
I mean, you just gotta pray he misses to that point.
Yeah.
When they're feeling it, I mean, those high-level shooters, you just gotta hope it misses, and most of the time it does.
Exactly. You said it. But speaking of that, shout out to them. Let's go to another player out in Arizona of the AZ Venom, Denali McNeil.
Oh my God, I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we haven't mentioned his name. I don't think we've mentioned his name once on this show, but he's probably had the most productive spring of any player on the Puma circuit. He's averaging over 20 points, well over 20 points, I think. And he does so much to help his team. His team struggled in Phoenix a little bit. They went 2-2, I believe. But Denali McNeil, I mean, he just put up high-level productive performances game after game. He had 30 plus one game. Scores the ball from all 3 levels, creates for himself, functional athlete, creates for others too. He's selfless, 6'3", lengthy guard, plays both ends. He's a D1 prospect with ease, and he currently has no offers, but that needs to change, and I will do my best to help him get some offers come July live period time.
There you go. You got the Shanku stamp of approval right there. Now, AZ Venom, they've been really good. Like you said, there's been a few up and down weeks. I think that's part of the reason why we haven't been able to really bring them up. But they have solid, and also shout out to Braylon Heyman, his backcourt mate out there. I think they really play well off each other. I think they do a great job of balancing the scoring and the passing, and they both are able to make some ridiculous shots. I remember Heyman making this past weekend a really, really tough fadeaway on the baseline, but almost behind the basket. And at first I'm like, what in the world is he doing? But it was in rhythm, and he obviously practiced a shot. Yeah, those two guards play really well. And you said McNeil is different. I definitely love the way that he's able to balance the scoring and the passing. But I think having a backcourt mate in Braylon who can also do similar things, you have them both run the point. You have them both run the 2. They both can go off ball action. They both can, craft the dribble. And you have other guys around them as well who are good defenders, good rebounders, good shooters of their own. Yeah, hopefully, it'd be nice to see them really starting together a 4-0 weekend to really dive into them in the type of way that we'd like to. Bottom line, we have so many teams, so many teams out here, so many good teams. Not every team goes 4-0. So many good teams that have not gone 4-0 that are really, really solid that we just haven't had a chance to talk to because, it's a lot of teams, a little show compared to that, right? But yeah, they're a good squad, and I like that you gave them a shout for sure. And look forward to doing more of these kind of coming up with you. We're not done just yet. We got one more player to touch on, but more of these player shout specific because that does give more shine, with us being able to include a player or two from the same team as well without doing that. So I definitely like this kind of topic, this feature here, if you will.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, AZ Venom solid. I do want to say, I enjoyed watching all the Arizona teams. Arizona got my own self, but watching Team Supreme, watching Factory, watching 17U and the 16U, watching AZ Venom, like, I don't know. I think they all played really well. If anything, they almost played too well against each other, because that's kind of what kind of cannibalized the rankings in my mind and made them all 2-2 or whatever the case may be. But really good wins, really good signature wins for each team, and they all play differently. They all have the same kind of grit, intensity. Every game you watch with them is definitely like the coaches are in. Like, that is for sure across the board, and the players are too. And I think that really kind of stands apart. And I mean, this is one of those things I know it's a lot of, maybe because I watched a lot of those teams this weekend, but I've seen them before in other stops as well. And I think seeing them all kind of play against each other in this way was really kind of cool. So shout out to them as well. But let's go to our last player here of just this standout player segment. And we already talked about him a little bit, but I did more of the talking on that. I want you to kind of take the lead on this one, Shanku. And that, again, we mentioned him earlier, Chase Rollins.
Yeah, Chase Rollins. I think I talked about it when I mentioned him earlier, but he currently holds no offers. I know he's getting some interest from some high academic schools, but he's a 6'6" guard. Great feel for the game. 6'6", he's got great positional size. Probably projects as a 2 guard at the next level, but his ability to score from all 3 levels, create for others at a high level, and then also defend. He can defend at the point of attack. He's got good length to poke the ball away, create disruption in passing lanes, and then also even some rim protection flashes as well. Just good instincts and high feel on defensive end as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And something, again, love to see that end-over-end development on both ends of the floor, right? So definitely enjoy that. All right, y'all. So at this point, we've gone through Phoenix, gone through OKC, gone through Cincinnati, and folks are probably like, okay, standing time. Well, listen, they will come. But it will not be tonight. You will have to wait. It will not be tonight. We're going to have a special standings/selection show. Stay tuned for the Pro 16 on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, just to find out more details on when that's dropping. But that is coming. It just is not coming tonight. We were going to say it earlier, but if we said it earlier, some of y'all might have just been like, all right, peace. And why? Why would we do that to ourselves? We didn't. But that show is going to be a special one. Definitely stay tuned for that. Looking forward to seeing where all the standings are. So to answer people's question about why, we haven't had them released yet. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So just stay tuned. It's going to happen. It's going to be great. And we're going to see where all these teams have shook out. That's also why we intentionally didn't talk about teams on the rise over here. But aside from that, just stay tuned this week. It will be dropping. That's all I got to say on that one. But moving forward to just what is next here. Listen, we have this show this week, and then we're going to see what's happening, right? Session 11, I think it is?
I think 10 will be coming up.
Math is off for me. Session 10, got a little bit of ways. We'll have time to talk about that. We'll see what's coming up next on that front. But again, stay tuned with Pro 16 Next Pro on all platforms, right? Instagram, Twitter, X, all of that, just to see what is going to be coming up in the pipeline. But know for a fact that you will get your standings information and that you will get your selection information this week. It's going to be a great show. I look forward to checking out with all of y'all. But for Shanku, for myself, we are Frosty. Y'all stay Frosty. And we'll see y'all when we see y'all.
Yes, sir. It was always fun, Corban.
Yes, sir.